Shalom, everybody. We are back finally, continuing where we left off in Likutey Halakhot, Reb Noson's discourse in section Orach Chaim, the laws of Nefilat Apayim, which is the part after the Shmoneh Esrei in the morning prayers. Discourse number 4, which again is all based on Likutey Moran lesson 24. We are now beginning a new paragraph 15, section paragraph number 15. At this point, Reb Noson does really something amazing. This is an example where Reb Noson he has the permission to add dimension and more explanation into Likutey Moran. He's allowed to add ideas that Rabbi Nachman doesn't mention explicitly, but Reb Noson, with his amazing mind and ability to probe Rabbi Nachman's teachings, opens up newer terms to explain better and like additions, if you want to say, to the stages that Rabbi Nachman is mentioning in Likutey Moran, and by doing so, giving us more practical handles in internalizing what the Rebbe is teaching. So, for example, here, up until this paragraph, the past few paragraphs, 14, 13, Rav Noson opened up for us the concept of na'aseh v'nishma, if you recall, that the whole praise of the Jewish people is they first say we will do and then we will listen. And Rav Noson's question, how could that be? You can't do first without knowing first what to do. So he explained in an amazing way that na'aseh means to do out of simple, straightforward faith without having to understand all the details why. Hashem says A, B, C, I do A, B, C, okay? And then I'll understand. Rav Noson is going to stress now that this is the key to Simcha. With simple Emunah, that is how you do mitzvot b'simcha. This, for example, Rabbi Nachman doesn't mention at all in the lesson Likutey Moran. Only once you delve deep do you see this. Rav Noson is opening our eyes to this new stage, which is amazing. It shows you that Emunah, simple Emunah, and Simcha go hand in hand. You want to do mitzvot b'simcha, you're going to have to take a simple, so you want to do mitzvot b'simcha, yes? You have to do mitzvot, to take a simple emunah, faithful attitude in your service of Hashem. Not everything has to be brain, all have to understand, have to do. Do with simple emunah. That's your key to simcha, and like Rav Noson is going to show now, with that simcha is how you reach the highest levels of perception. The way to open the mind is dafka through this attitude of simple emunah and simcha in performing the mitzvot out of emunah, period. Nachon, you have a big brain, you're a thinker, you're intellectual, you like to understand things before you do them, not in serving Hashem, sorry. You want to reach the maximum, you have to take on an attitude of knowing how to juggle and balance between intellect and emunah. When it comes to serving Hashem, the verse says, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. What do you want? It doesn't say Ivdu et Hashem b'sechel. The verse doesn't read, serve Hashem with your brain. You serve Hashem with joy. And the joy, Rav Noson shows us, is through simple emunah. So Rav Noson, what he's going to do now, he's going to throw in the idea that he mentioned of na'aseh v'nishma, which is simple emunah, and put it in perspective of all lesson 24, so you get a feeling of the thrust of how important this stage of simple emunah is in coming to the simcha, which leads to the infinite light. Watch what he says. Haklal, paragraph 15, the beginning. Haklal, the rule is like this, Rav Noson says, and his wording is like far-reaching. She'ikar tikun kol ha'olamot, the essence of rectifying all the worlds, which means that this is the beginning point. This is where you emphasize, this is where you start. This is the beginning point to help bring Mashiach, to bring the Geula, to bring the world to its rectification. All the worlds, the whole universe, all the worlds and all the levels, etc., etc. Who, alidei, shemakdimin na'asiyah lishmiyah. Reb Noson is amazing. It's true specifically that a Jew prefaces doing over understanding. That the emphasis is the doing without necessarily the depth. Yet, it's with doing And this comes before the understanding behind what I'm doing. I'm told what to do, and I'm doing it out of pure emunah. Look, shezeu bechinat emunah. This is the concept of faith. Dahainu. It's a big thing here. Reb Noson is saying it's so important to have this internalized. Dahainu shemakdimin laasot kol mitzvot besimcha gdola al yedei haemunah levad. Period. In other words, meaning that we preface doing the mitzvot with a big simcha, a great joy, through emunah alone. We don't say to the person, your understanding of the writings of the Arizal and the Gemara and the Midrash and all the commentaries and all the books of Chassidut and Musar, then you'll be happy in serving Hashem and you're doing your mitzvot, in your tefillin, in your tzitzit, in your brachot. No. We say to the person, as you are right now, and you have nothing in your head right now, that's how Hashem wants you to believe the mitzvah you're doing. I'm coming to the tefillin without such an intellectual hachana, preparation. My main preparation for the mitzvah is my getting into the emunah of how amazing it is what I'm about to do. I'm about to put on the tefillin, the tzitzit. This is what Hashem wants of me. And out of simcha alone, out of emunah alone, I'm happy. So Reb Noson is saying the emunah in what you're doing, belief that this is what Hashem wants me to do, this is alone is enough to bring you to the joy. And not an intellectual accomplishment in before I'm doing it, which many people think that's the attitude. He's saying wrong. Take on a simple emunah attitude. That's what will bring you to the joy that's needed, to the real joy in doing the mitzvah. Okay? Makdemin lasot kol mitzvot besimcha gdola al yedei ha'emunah levad. Through emunah alone. Period. Af al pi she'ein mevinin bahem shum ta'am. Even though you don't understand any reasoning behind what you're doing, you don't understand the reason behind the boxes and the talit and the brachot. Your head is not there. I don't have that input, that insight. If I would have, I would probably do the mitzvah much more simcha. Listen, learning halacha, you have to learn halacha. What to do, you have to learn halacha. You can't now, I don't know halacha, so I'm putting on tefillin, instead of putting on tefillin here, I'm putting on the tefillin over here. No, there's halakhot. Just the meaning behind it, the depth, you want to go into the chassidut behind it, and the Kabbalah, and the Zohar, and the Midrash, that you've got to wait. That, when it comes to doing the mitzvah, you put all that aside. Even if you do have something in your head about the mitzvot, everything on the side, I'm now serving Hashem with complete, simple faith. That's it. What is faith? I'm doing this because Hashem wants me to do it. I believe in this mitzvah. I have emunah. This is what I'm meant to do in my life. My whole life is now just to put on the tefillin, to say from my lips the brachot, to say from my lip the words of Ashrei, to say Aleinu l'shabeach, to do the mitzvot that I'm doing, hafrashat chala, trumot ma'asrot, whatever. That's what I'm here for. Period. I don't know why, nothing. This is what Hashem wants me. Asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, who sanctified us in His mitzvot and ordered us to do so and so, tefillin, tzitzit. That's it. Pure, simple faith. That's it. That's the key here. That's what brings the simcha. Even if I don't understand any time, Reb Noson writes. Whereas, if you succeed, again, it's easier said than done because we're always overwhelmed of static and noise in our head. Our mind is constant running from thought to thought, and images come and ideas, and what about this, what about that? We know it's difficult. Just to be simple is difficult. But this is the goal. If you think more intellectual sharpness will enhance your mitzvah performance, already you're a big thinker, right? Quote unquote. You're always thinking. So what does it help putting more intellect in? That's not the direction at all. Direction is to push everything aside and to focus on simple emunah in doing the mitzvah. Again, it's not easy, but this is the direction. In reality, it is easy, but we make it not easy, and we have to train ourselves to go back into making it easy, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay? And then through doing the mitzvot with joy, which Reb Noson prefaced is by doing first the asiyah before the shmiyah, which means doing mitzvot with complete, simple faith, and that's it. Zoche la'alot ma'ala mala. This is the key, not like you would have thought, to develop intellectually, right? That's how you go up and up. Zochel alot ma'ala mala. You go up from level to level with this attitude, doing mitzvot with joy, simple joy out of simple faith. Ad shezochel amshich birkat hasechel. Until, yes, afterwards, you merit to draw upon yourself the blessing of the intellect. It comes to you. The intellect comes to you, but from this attitude. Not from an intellectual attitude of starting with the Gemara and the Kabbalah and the Chassidut and everything. It starts with a simple attitude. That's how you get to the blessing of the intellect. And then now he sees Reb Noson now at this point is going into the stages mentioned in lesson 24 Likutey Moran. And by having the blessing of the intellect drawn upon you, ולתקן המסדר והמיישב שבחינת כתר, and then you merit to rectify the organizing, structuring, and the settling of the mind, which is a gift of the intellect. The blessing of the intellect leads to this. Okay? Rav Noson already prefaced in the lesson. Rabbi Nachman says at this point, here you add Emunah. Rav Noson prefaced the Emunah already at the very beginning. He pushed the Emunah that Rabbi Nachman mentions later in the lesson. He says that already when you start doing mitzvot with Simcha, that's where you need the Emunah already. Okay? And then through the Emunah already, plus now the blessing of the Sechel, which you join with the Emunah. He doesn't mention it here because, like I said, he already mentioned it. Rav Noson earlier prefaced it. Whereas Rabbi Nachman at this point mentions that Birkat HaSechel with Emunah leads to the next stage, letaken, to rectify the organizing, structuring, settling of the mind, which is called, in the Kabbalistic terminology, the level of the Keter, the crown. The highest level, which is the interface between us and the Creator. What's beyond us is Hashem's infinite light, Hashem himself, his infinite light. He's beyond the interface, what the wall is called the Keter. And for us, the way we tap in to reach the Keter, which is the preface before infinite light, before Hashem, is through this, having the mind being settled and rectified and organized, which comes about through the blessing of the intellect, which comes about by doing mitzvot b'simcha. As if he's saying you reach the highest levels with this attitude. Don't try to run anywhere else. It's here. It's investing in simcha and emunah. Okay? V'az zoche al yidei haredifa v'ha'me'akev. He's going through the stages of the lesson Likutey Moran. And then, once you reach the keter successfully, because you're doing mitzvot out of simple emunah, faith, and simcha, okay? So then you're zoche to the next stage, which is now that your mind being blessed with intellect, okay? And now reaching the stage of the keter, which organizes and structures the mind and settles it. So now through you running to go forward, because the mind, once opened to a big light, doesn't stay still. The mind of a person, when exposed to a light, automatically runs out of the darkness to go towards the light. That's the normal attitude of every normal person. No one wants to stay in the darkness. When light is exposed to a person, they go forward. Okay? So then what happens is that when a person is exposed to this level of the keter, the person now is running to pursue what's beyond it, that infinite light. So it's running, but the keter refrains a person. Ma'akev. So אז זוכר די רדיפה והמעכב להשיג השגות התשעה החלין הנזכרים לאל. This is a bit deep, but this is quoting the idea I mentioned in the lesson Likutey Moran. Then a person merits, because now he properly activated the keter, and he's running now to bypass, to go beyond the keter towards the infinite light, because he wants that light. So he's running, the mind is running, and the keter prevents the mind from going forward. This combination of running and then being prevented, right? The preventing of the running, this allows a person to create vessels, not like he would have thought that he's going forward. He's going backward now. He's being bounced back. And this being bounced back together with the wanting to go forward and being bounced in life, this creates what's called 9 chambers, a very, very lofty level beyond the person's experience. He doesn't even know about it. It's beyond his knowledge, his connection to it. It's just being made. 9 chambers are being made. It's unknowable. The person doesn't know about them, but it's through these 9 chambers that the person, yes, does perceive the infinite light, but in a flash experience. That way a person can take with him in his daily living the experience of the unknowable light, but it shines into him to keep on going and to find clarity in his life. Amazing. This is what everybody needs. People just want clarity. But here's the process Rabbi Nachman is explaining how to get to this. It starts with doing mitzvot b'simcha. And that you need, Reb Noson adds, Emunah. Simple Emunah. Okay? ואז זוכה על ידי הרדיפה והמעכב להשיג השגות התשעה היכלים הנזכרים לאל, שעל ידי זה משיגין אלוקותו יתברך, שהוא אור האינסוף כנזכר לאל. And it's like we said, through this package of the 9 chambers, in the lesson we explained it, not in Likutey Halakhot because it's too deep, the why 9. Through these 9 chambers does a person perceive Hashem's godliness, blessed be He, which is the light of the infinite light, the light of the infinite one mentioned above, which means you get clarity in your life. You find a way out of what you're stuck in. Ki ifshar la'asig, Rav Noson again, he goes back to this. He says, why is this process necessary? Why this bounce? Why this running and this bounce? Ki if, and he's prefacing, he's like rephrasing, better to say, what Rabbi Nachman says in the Likutey on lesson 24. Ki אפשר להשיג שום השגה אמיתית בהשגת אלוקותו יתברך, for it's impossible to gain any perception, any true perception of godliness of Hashem, blessed be He, because many people, they claim to be visionaries and prophets and they have uji-buji and everything. Sorry, if they didn't go through the struggle, we don't even begin to consider what they're saying. You have these people who start writing all types of ideas and everything based on the Torah, but they're unfounded. Like, who says you're right? The way we begin even to consider accepting people is if they go through this struggle. If now they're just like sitting back and smoking, God forbid, whatever, smoking a pot, and then they have ideas and perceptions and they write them down, it's not the attitude, sorry. The attitude is dafka, this struggle, this process. That's how we perceive. Reb Noson adds true perception, because there are many people, like we say, they have false perceptions. Like Rabbi Nachman says in the Aleph Bet book, his Aleph Bet book, the Sefer Midot, Yesh na'eh doresh va'af al pi chen eno mitkaven el ha'emet. You have someone who explains the Torah very nicely, very presentable, very beautiful, but nonetheless, he's not in line with the truth. His perception and his drasha, his expounding is not in the truth, it's in the falsehood. Even though it's it's so presentable, he's a good speaker, he knows how to talk and everything, nonetheless, it could be from the wrong side, from the sheker, okay? So he's saying, Rav Noson, a true perception comes like this. People who struggle in their serving of Hashem, they work hard to do mitzvot b'simcha, and then they reach this level of going forward. This obviously is levels of big tzaddikim, right? And they get bounced back. And by accepting the bounce back, they create the 9 chambers, that through that they perceive the infinite light. They're not like shining with like big lights and projectors coming from their face and everything. Everything is just simple and straightforward. A simple person, yet he has a simple attitude and he accepts the bounce back, which pushes him back to being a regular human being. And in that, he can experience true perceptions of godliness. Unbelievable, Reb Noson says. And this is for not just for big tzaddikim, every person. Your way to perceive God is in how you accept the bounce back. After having a high and being b'simcha and emunah, and you go forward and then you get smashed back, that's when and where you will receive perception. Unbelievable. It's the opposite of what you thought. You thought going forward, that's how perceive godliness. Saying no, the way to perceive godliness is when you're bounced back after the procedure and taking it properly. That's what creates the 9 perceptions, and that's how you get a true perception of godliness. The 9 chambers, the 2 of them, they have a true perception of godliness. Okay, he goes on, Rav Noson, to explain the ideas in the lesson. כי אי אפשר להשיג שום השגה אמיתית בהשגת אלוקות יתברך, כי אם כשזוכה לקבל ולהמשיך כוח המסדר והמיישב. The only way is by first that you merit to receive and draw upon yourself the keter, the strength, the power of the settling and the organizing, structuring, settling of the mind, which requires to push you back. שנמשך מבחינת keter, which is drawn from this level called the keter. שבחינת המונע והמעכב את המוחים. What is the keter doing to you when you're trying to go forward? It's the one responsible to prevent you and block your mind from advancing, from going forward. שעל ידי זה עיקר השגת אור האינסוף בבחינת מטה vela mate. That it's specifically through this process, this procedure, that you perceive the infinite light in this format, which Rabbi Nachman is using, quoting the Zohar, called mate vela mate. Mate vela mate translates as reaching and not reaching. What you went through also was reaching and not reaching. You went forward and then you were pushed back. So that was reaching, because you feel the light, you're going forward towards it. You just barely begin to touch, and then you're pushed back. And also by being pushed back, that's when you perceive. In the lamate, the not perceiving, that's when they shine into you the mate. See, it works both. Mate vela mate. It was first reaching because you were going forward, and then you pushed back. But once you push back, then once again you experience that light. That's that combination of being forward and back. So Rabbi Nachman is calling that mate vela mate, reaching and not reaching. That is the way for light to come down. This concept, mate vela mate, is really, really discussed by the Arizal in his writings, that this is the secret of the creation to be able to continue to exist. There's the initial light of the creation, but for it to continue has to be in a format of in and out. If now everything is just light and light and light, what happens when you put too much energy in something, like in a generator? It explodes, it blows up. So to a person, there's and creation, there's so much it can handle. So Hashem puts His light of godliness in the creation, in and out, and so to every person, every level you advance in your Judaism, in your search, your journey to come close to Hashem, the way Hashem designs it, always is in and out, in and out. It's not just going up and up and up and up. You have major setbacks in life, and it's through the setbacks, that's how you perceive. Unbelievable. How you accept the setbacks, besimcha, and as part of the process, that's how you perceive the godliness, okay? Sha'al yedei zeh na'asin hatisha hechalin hanizkarim la'el kanizkar la'el. It's through this in and out, like we said, that is formed the 9 chambers that he mentioned above. And as mentioned earlier in this discourse, that's what's needed to the vessel to receive within them the infinite light. And he goes on, and he says, now how do we get to all of this? A reminder. And this power, this strength of the structuring and organizing and settling of the mind. A person doesn't merit it only through practical action, doing of mitzvot, right? The uvda, doing, specifically doing. It's not like just, my meditation and everything, closing your eyes and detaching. No. The way to perceive is dafka, specifically by doing mitzvah performance. Not what you think, like the mantras and the Buddhism and whatever, huji buji, where it's into meditation and meditation and closing your eyes. That's not how to perceive. The way to perceive is getting up in the morning, putting on your tefillin, tzitzit, going to the mikveh, davening, learning Torah, doing tzedakah, doing chesed, doing. Rabbi Nachman once said that he says Emunah is in the hands. The Torah says that Emunah is in the hands, in the doing. You don't say, I'm a Jew at heart. I believe I'm a Jew at heart, but when I go outside, I don't eat kosher, I don't keep Shabbat. I'm sorry. Then you don't believe. Your belief is expressed in doing. If you don't do, you will never come to Emunah. And your Emunah will never bring you to the true potential of what you can reach in your life. You got to do it. And Reb Noson says it's all this starts with doing. Asiyah ve'uvda daika, which means, in other words, tahainu, al yedei asiyat ha-mitzvot besimcha kanizkar le'el. By specifically doing the mitzvot with joy, that's how you reach these unbelievable levels of the infinite light, perceiving the infinite light. Ve'az daika, specifically then, when you do mitzvot with joy, zoche, and after this whole process of the running and returning, running and settling the mind, and then bouncing back, in and out, mate vela mate, all this, az zoche lasig ora ein sof al yedei redifa ve'me'akev daika. And it's then specifically, once you do mitzvot out of pure faith and joy, due to that faith, you merit to perceive the infinite light through this process called the running and bouncing back, which is the only way to perceive true perception of godliness. Reb Noson is stressing this point again and again. B'vchinat mate vela mate, like we mentioned, running, touching and not touching, reaching and not reaching, in and out. As mentioned above, shezeu b'chinat tachlit hayediyah Asher lo neda. So Reb Noson quotes again Rabbi Nachman in lesson 24, quoting from a book called Bechinot Olam. It's a famous expression. The goal of knowledge is to know that we don't know. The goal, tachlit hayediyah, the goal of all knowledge is asher lo neda, that we don't know. The goal of knowing comes through not knowing. Tachlit asher lo neda. We reach up a high level, we're knowing, knowledge, wow. And then we reach, boom, we don't know. And it's specifically by being bounced back and not knowing that you come to knowledge. Okay? To be continued with Hashem in the next section of this paragraph.